minute.
Okay, anyway, um, welcome everyone to the Jewish Study Center. This is the first time that we are hosting a Limmud uh, day of Jewish learning. So, in some sense, we will be learning things as you are learning things. We'll all be learning today. Um, so, let me check a few technical things. Right now, the recording is on, but I think I should turn it off. What do you think, Bracha?
I think you should turn it on, leave it on now.
Okay, I think it's on now.
Great.
Okay. Um, and everyone is muted at the moment. So put your comments, your questions in the chat box. Also, well, Brooke will take it over afterwards, and there are other things to do. And since I am not very familiar with the Limmud method, I'm going to turn the whole thing over to Brooke Laster, who is familiar, and she and Rabbi Jack Slachter will be taking over at this point. So, Brucha, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again. When you want to change your name, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, and we're going to show you again, but if you want to change your name, you go down to where it says participants, and you can have a list of people, and you find yourself, and over on the right of that column, you will go ahead and it'll say more, and under more, it has rename. And if somebody, not me, maybe Jack, or maybe Ephraim or Jay can put it in the chat, and we'll keep repeating it that way, but we'll also repeat it out loud. So
Another way of doing it, by the way, is go to where your picture is, and go into the upper right hand corner of the three dots, and then the bottom thing there also says rename.
great. So we were gifted with an amazing packet called 70 Faces of Torah. And some of us got to print it out for today so that we can learn together. And it turns out that the people making this packet drew from many different sources of Jewish tradition, commenting on the idea that we all learn from each other. And in fact, we are called Israel. And the reason we're called Israel is because we wrestle with God. We take after our ancestor Abraham, who wrestled with God, particularly in this week's parsha, in last week's parsha, asking God to spare the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. He felt comfortable enough with God to confront God and ask hard questions. And that's what we're hoping to experience today in what's called hevruta, because hevruta is a long-term Jewish kind of learning. By the way, we asked people ahead of time if they could print out this packet. Somebody said there's too many pages, so they couldn't, and I respect that. And so we'll have a digital copy for those of you who need it. If you printed it out, it may be less awkward, but we'll be able to manage with it. Jerry's going to keep admitting people while I keep going. What we're going to experience today is a kind of learning where there's not one teacher, but that everybody here is a teacher. We all take turns learning and teaching from each other. And we're going to walk you through and even model for you what it is like to be in a partner learning called hevruta. Hevruta has been around for about 2,000 years, and it's what traditionally has occurred in yeshivas or rabbinical seminaries, and that's why some of us plebeians people who aren't ordained as rabbis, a lot of women, for example, never experienced it until they went to something in the 20th century. I first learned about hevruta by going to classes at the Havurah Institute, and other people have gone to Eilat Hayim, or they've gone to Hadar in New York City, and learned that everyone has a background knowledge that they can share, and that the text isn't so far away. It's close to all of us. And in fact, the particular text that I chose for a minute of learning is that everyone is a teacher and everyone is a learner. And this comes from a commentary on Psalm 119. Ben Zoma Omer, Eze Chacham, Halomed Mikol Adam, Shene'amar Mikol Milamdei, Hiskalti Ki Edotecha Sicha Li. Who is wise? He who learns from every person. Because it says in the Psalms, from all who taught me have I gained understanding. And what does Ben Zoma mean? How or might this idea inform our teaching, inform our learning? And I want to open it up actually to the whole group right now. If there was someone who had a thought about how is it that you learn from every person? I'm going to stop share a second so that I can see your faces. Is there anyone who wants to make a comment on the famous Pirkei Avot saying, "Who is wise? One who learns from everyone." Margot Cates, please tell us what you think.
Thank you, Bracha. In my estimation, if one is not open to the other person, to listen with an open mind and an open heart, then one really isn't capable of learning. Even if one is reading texts on their own, one is in conversation with those sages or authors who have gathered the text together. So I think it's a question of being respectful of the other and just accepting that what the other has to give is of value. And if one does not do that, then one never learns anything, truly.
What an important comment. Thank you so much, Margot. I just want to underline what you've said, which you have to be respectful. You have to be open-minded to really learn. And we're hoping that today, everyone's going to get that opportunity. So Ben Klein, would you like to say something?
Yes. So also each person has their own life experiences. So they may have a specific, how does this apply? Or more actually, sure, this is the rule in the general case. But in this specific case, now what?
And how do you apply it, right, Ben?
Yes.
So you're saying that because I bring a different life experience to this text, and I'm learning with you, Ben, who has totally different life experience, we can learn from each other's lens on the text together.
Yep.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Ben. So you could see two people in this room were able to expound on the Ben Zoma text. That was great.
And we have somebody in the chat who commented as well.
What did they say? Tell us.
Rafi, do you want to unmute and share your comment?
If not, maybe I'll just read it, Jack.
So it says, we all have a different perspective, frame of reference, and knowledge base.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Rafi. So I wanted to go ahead and give people a little more background about hevruta, the process. It's a kind of pedagogy, that means learning style, that is well known, again, in traditional Jewish spaces. And then we're going to even try it out. I know it's a little bold of us to try it out, but we are going to try it out. So I'm going to make it a little bigger so you can see it. Hevruta comes from the word haver. The Hebrew word means friend, and it's partner learning, where you're looking at a text, but the main thing you're doing is interpreting it. So that's why it has to be a pretty dense text. And luckily today we have some dense text. We analyze the text, we argue with the ideas, as Margot said, the ideas the author put out, we're arguing with those ideas, and we're arguing even with each other. Arguing is truly part of our Jewish tradition, as I just gave the example of Avraham. Arguing is a way of getting more insights. And hevruta study's been really active for 2,000 years, so we're just continuing what has been set up. We know that this kind of learning has been referred to and used in the Talmud, and the Talmud is a wonderful way of using people who are no longer alive to teach us and to sharpen our own thinking. Talmudic literature talks about hevruta as paired, that means with someone who is who lives near you or not, because we have Zoom now, so we have hevruta partners who are far distant from each other, but they learn together. It's text-based, it's interpretive, it's a discussion. And you start with reading out loud slowly. It was very popular, again, in early 20th century Europe, as more students entered yeshivot. And then again, as I said, more egalitarian offerings or situations occurred where people could try out hevruta. And that is now occurring today in the Jewish Study Center. How perfect. We have some references in case people are interested in the history or the current research on hevruta. You read a text aloud slowly. Typically, you start with the Hebrew, but many of us are not so conversant in Hebrew, so we start with the English. We read it slowly. And I should say why people often who are very conversant in the Hebrew, could be also Aramaic, which was an ancient language of some of our texts, because the structure of the Hebrew itself is interesting. But we are going to go with what we know, and in many of our cases, our primary language is English, so we're going to start with that. We discuss the meaning of the text. We make a series of discussion moves, and that is, my partner might say something and I might say, wow, I agree with that, and here's another illustration that supports your point. Or I might disagree with him and say, that's interesting. I see your point. I acknowledge what you're saying. I wanted to bring up something that really contrasts with us, because by contrasting with what he said, perhaps it will sharpen the definition or the understanding. So when I corroborate what my partner says, I'm soliciting more thoughts or additional text-based information. And conversely, when I challenge in a supportive manner, respectfully, when I raise problems, when I question what's missing from his thinking, and I could draw attention to it, then those ideas also will sharpen our thinking, both of our thinkings. So what typically happens in a yeshiva is you have a large room and you have all these partners, these hevruta, and it's very noisy. So partners have to sit right next to each other to hear each other, but it's a noisy kind of learning. Well, it turns out we are extremely lucky because technology had allowed us to have Zoom breakout rooms, and that's really an advantage. So we're going to try those out so you can hear what your partner's saying, and then you can react to it. Partners learn to rely on one another to interpret difficult texts, and they end up creating a relationship. We're not doing it today, but it could happen in the Jewish Study Center going forward that hevruta partners stay with each other because they start to understand how, like I understand how my partner thinks. My partner may be really better at big picture, at macro kinds of thinking, and I might be better at application of the topic or detailed parts of the topic. And then my partner might make me think in a broader way, or I might make my partner think in a more detailed kind of way. So we learn about different learning styles. The essence of hevruta is out loud. It's a conversation. It's egalitarian. The instructor is not the source of all the knowledge, but again, as some of you said in the room, everyone brings their background knowledge. So the text and the students are transactional. Usually we have some prompts, but the text that we were given today by Limmud has prompts in it. So remember, there's multiple answers. There's not just one way of thinking. Discussion is open-ended. Speakers link to what their partner says. They don't just start a new thought. They acknowledge what their partner says, and then they present something else, either agreeing with it or disagreeing with it. Once you get into the groove of it, you could stay with your hevruta partner for weeks, for days, I'm sorry, for months, for years. There's hevruta partners who've been together for decades. So at this juncture, we wanted to know if there's some people who are familiar with hevruta and would like to get started with the text that was given by Limmud, and others who would like to stay with us while Jack and I model how to do hevruta. So if you're someone who I'm going to say is advanced because you've practiced doing hevruta, we want you to rename yourself with a capital H and a dash before your name. And if you don't know how to rename yourself, can you say so in the chat? Margot, you have a question.
Yes, it's many long time between that I've done hevruta learning just two persons. I myself would be more comfortable to explore it with a group of 4. I don't know whether you would consider that, but that's where I'm at.
Okay. Margot, why don't you stay with us while we model it? We're going to can you take your hand down? I can't see how to do it right now. Why we want just 2 people is we want each person talking. And when you have 3 people or 4 people or 5 or whatever, somebody's going to be quiet. And we want each person to have their time to talk. And that's so important in hevruta. So how to change your name. And Jerry, you're going to watch, if you don't mind, under participants to see if there are any people who feel like they are more advanced and can just jump into it with that. So they feel strong. They have the knowledge base to do it. And so far, oh, good. We just put in how to rename yourself. You can see the 3 little dots at the top of your screen. and click on them, the upper right corner of your picture. It should have 3 dots. And then you can rename yourself where it says rename. And we're asking you to put a capital H and a dash and that in front of your name. And as soon as you do that, we'll go ahead and get you into a breakout room for just 2 people. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep talking.
There are 2 people who have H's. Well, 3 people already.
Oh, I see. Very good. Wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and get you in your rooms. And I think that is Dr. S. Brad.
If you have an H in front of your name and you're comfortable with hevruta, please make sure that you have access to the study guide as well.
Thank you. And give me just a moment to make sure I can get everybody in who is ready to go forward. We were recommending, because this is such a dense packet of great stuff, that you go ahead and start with Unit 4. If all of us start with Unit 4, then when we come back together, we might be sharing some similar things.